Raise the vibration!
Hey YouTube, so in this video I'm going to talk to you about my experience going a whole year without drinking alcohol. While I film this video, I will be sipping on some purple tea. If you've seen my last video about blue tea, you make it the same way with the same kind of tea leaves, except to make it purple, you just add one hibiscus flower. Yeah, and it gets this really pretty purple color. So anyway, I'm just gonna kind of ramble in this video. I just wanna talk to you about why I decided to give up alcohol for a year and what was my experience doing it. So to start, why did I decide to give up alcohol for a year? So last year is when I gave it up. So January 1st of 2018 until January 1st of 2019, I didn't have any alcohol. And I did this for a few reasons. So the first reason is that every time I drank, something within me was resisting. Like, do you ever do something and deep in your bones you know that you shouldn't be doing it, but you do it anyway and then you regret it? That's how I felt anytime I drank alcohol, even if I wasn't drinking a ton, because I wasn't. It's not like I was getting drunk every weekend. I would just drink and then I would feel like crap. So I was becoming really sensitive to alcohol. Every time I drank, no matter how much, I felt really bad afterwards. I was sick of having hangovers, and I just knew it was bad for my body. So I'm kind of someone who likes to do things all or nothing, and I was sick of feeling sick from alcohol, so I decided to just give it up for an entire year. That was my biggest reason. I just knew it was bad for my health, and I wanted to just kind of cleanse my body of it for a while. So another reason I decided to give up alcohol was because I realized that every time I drank, it was literally just because other people were drinking. It wasn't something I actually wanted to do. I was just doing it because all my friends were, and I felt peer pressure. So I was honestly kind of sick of having people have that control over me. So obviously it was my decision to drink. It's not like anyone was forcing it down my throat. But I was sick of, like, in my head, peer pressure being the reason that I was drinking. So I knew that going a whole year without drinking alcohol, I would really be kind of like exercising my freedom to say no, because then I would obviously be in social settings where I would be saying no and I would be sticking to it, and nobody else would be the reason for me drinking, but I would be the reason that I'm making the decision to not drink. So before 2018, it's not like I would just go home and have a glass of wine to unwind from the day. I never did that because I never actually wanted to drink. The only times I was drinking is when I was with my friends and everyone else was drinking. And it's kind of similar to the idea of why I love minimalism. It's the idea that nothing owns you. So you have the freedom to make your own decisions and live your own life, and you're not doing something just because someone else is doing it or just because you think they want you to do it. So another reason I decided to go up alcohol is that I really enjoy pushing myself in some way. So whether it's like giving up chocolate for a month or training for a race or something like that, I really like pushing myself, because for me it's really important to always have a goal to work towards, because it kind of gives my life meaning if I have something to strive for. If I'm just kind of sitting around idle, not really having something to work for, personally, my life doesn't feel as meaningful. So in this case, like deciding to go a whole year without drinking, it was kind of proving to myself, like, okay, if I can do that, what else am I capable of? So it's like when people decide to train for a marathon. It's like the act of regularly practicing something with discipline that you know is pushing yourself and that enables you to grow. So these are the reasons I decided to give up alcohol for a year. There wasn't one specific reason. It was really a combination of these things that I felt, that I knew it's something I wanted to do. So now I'll kind of talk about what the experience was like of not drinking alcohol for a year and some observations I got from doing so. So one of the biggest realizations I've had throughout the year of not drinking is that your actions automatically get people to question their own actions, whether or not you intend to. So for example, I wasn't pushing no drinking on anyone. I was actually really trying to keep it on the down low because I didn't want people to judge me. So I was actually a little insecure about it in the beginning. I wouldn't really tell people if they saw me if they saw me not drinking, or if I said like no to a drink, they would ask me why I'm not drinking. And once I say my reasons, whatever, they would immediately bring it back to themselves and say something like, oh, I just like wine too much, or parties are too boring without alcohol. Like, they would always kind of give an excuse for why they are drinking, as if I was telling them not to drink, which I wasn't doing at all. And it kind of reminded me of when I was vegan for a couple years in the past. And anytime someone found out I was vegan, again, I wasn't really pushing it on people. I was trying to just like eat my food and not really have a lot of people know that I was vegan, because obviously it's like a very hot topic, and when people start debating about it, it causes a lot of tension and all this stuff. So I just avoided telling people. But if someone asked or someone found out, they would immediately say something like, oh, I just like cheese way too much, or I could never do that. Or I could be vegetarian, but I could never be vegan. That's too extreme. So whether or not you intend to, your actions will always automatically get people to start questioning their own actions. So another observation I made throughout the year of not drinking, and it's kind of a question I still ask myself, it's something I'm not really sure of the answer, but why do people care when you're not drinking? So if you're still going out and partying and having fun with everyone, the only difference is you're not like putting alcohol up to your mouth and drinking. If you're doing the same thing as everyone else except not just consuming alcohol, I don't really see what the difference is. So for example, I was actually at a wedding a couple weeks ago, and the night before the wedding, I went out drinking, and then the day of the wedding, I felt like crap. I got a cold. I didn't want any alcohol near me. Not near me, but I just didn't want to drink any. So that night I just decided not to drink. I was drinking like sodas, water, whatever. And then actually towards the end of the night, everyone was dancing. It was getting towards the morning, and then I decided to have like a glass of wine. So I had a glass of wine. I wasn't drunk or anything. It was just a glass. And then it was time to go home. So we left the party at like 4 in the morning. All my friends were really drunk, but we got on a train. We were going home. And one of my friends asked me, he was like, are you not drinking again? He was referring to like the year before when I went the whole year without drinking. He was like, are you doing that again? And I was like, no, I'm drinking. And he was like, oh, well, you didn't drink much tonight, did you? So after I said to him, no, I drank, I just didn't drink a ton, my friend whispered to him, but she did it really loudly so that like everyone could hear. She was like, she's boring. And then like everyone was laughing, and I mean, it kind of stung because I was doing literally everything everyone else was doing that night. I was dancing. I was actually probably dancing more than most people. I was having fun. We were all talking. We left at 4 a.m. So it was funny to me because it's not like I was sitting in the corner judging everyone who was drinking. I wasn't doing that at all. I was out on the dance floor having a good time with everyone. You really couldn't tell I was not drinking unless you were like watching me and watching everything I consumed. So this raises the question, like, why do people care if you're not drinking if you're literally doing the same thing as everyone else? So I have a couple theories about this, but I want to hear what you guys think. My first theory is that maybe it goes back to some like biological need to be surrounded by people who are the same as you. So anytime you do something that goes against what everyone else is doing, it kind of puts people in like defensive mode. That's my first theory. My second theory about this is that maybe people don't like when you're not doing something that they're doing. Maybe they don't like it because it kind of questions their identity. So if they're all doing something that is kind of a part of their identity, then you not doing it, it's kind of like questioning their identity deep down, which is uncomfortable. Like, why do we care when someone's practicing a religion that we don't practice? Why do we care that someone has different beliefs from our own? We care because our beliefs are tied to our identity. So when someone goes against our beliefs, it's kind of like questioning our beliefs, and in turn, it's like questioning our identity, which is kind of scary because it's something rooted in us our entire lives. And when someone questions our identity, it's kind of like suggesting that our identity might not be right or our beliefs might be wrong. And it kind of suggests that maybe what we believe in isn't right. But I really don't believe that there's a right and wrong in this situation, especially with something like religious beliefs. And I really don't think there's a right and wrong with alcohol either. It's just something I was personally doing for very personal reasons. I could care less if other people are drinking. So yeah, that observation is just that people do care if you're not like physically drinking, and I'm still not very sure why, because if you're doing the same thing that they're doing, minus just consuming a liquid, then they get offended. So another observation I had going a year without drinking is that the longer I did it, the easier it got. So in the beginning, it was definitely pretty awkward. If I was like going out with friends or going to a party, I felt really awkward telling people that I wasn't drinking. So like I said, I didn't tell people unless it came up, unless I like absolutely had to tell them. And it's funny because my response to when people asked why I wasn't drinking, it kind of changed based on who the person was. So if someone asked me who I felt closer to, or someone who I could more easily talk to more openly, I would tell them my more in-depth reasons, like, oh, I like to have goals to push myself, or I was sick of just doing things because other people were doing it, or I feel really crappy when I drink alcohol, so I'm just not doing it for a year to try to like cleanse my body. But if it was someone who I didn't really feel close to, or I was scared they were gonna judge me, I would just try to keep it short and be like, I just feel crappy when I drink, so I'm not drinking right now. But as the year went on, I definitely got more confident in my decision, and I felt a lot more comfortable going out and not drinking. So I would start to go to parties, and I would be partying till the morning, like I would be on the dance floor all night, and I would really have no problem going out and enjoying myself without drinking. So if I got a free drink coupon, I would just give it to my friend, and we would be dancing all night, and I actually had a lot of fun last year without drinking. So I started to get more confident not drinking because I knew that I could still go out and have fun. It's not like parties were boring just because I wasn't drinking. I can think of one party that was pretty boring. It was just, they were playing really bad music, and it was it just wasn't a fun crowd. That was like one time when I was like, all right, I could really use some alcohol right now. But that really didn't happen often. So by the end of the year, by the end of 2018, I was really comfortable not drinking. All my friends knew I wasn't drinking, obviously, so it just wasn't a big deal at all. And I think it was kind of symbolic in the fact that towards the end of the year, I went to a liqueur distillery with my friends, and I just didn't drink. It might sound weird, like why would you even put yourself in that situation? But I went because it's a popular distillery in Senegal, and it's really beautiful. And going to a distillery, it's not just about like tasting the alcohol, but it's also about learning about how the liqueur is made and hearing the story behind it. And while we were there, one of the workers, he was actually telling us a story about how he tried migrating to Northern Africa, and we were all sitting there for a long time just talking with him. So that moment kind of just made me realize it's not about drinking, it's just about like coming together and talking with people. So definitely as the year went on, it got easier to not drink, and it got easier to go out and feel comfortable not drinking with my friends. So another observation I had throughout the year of not drinking that I think can apply to a lot of things in life is it's only a big deal if you make it a big deal. So a lot of times in the beginning, like I said, I would feel really anxious going to parties. I would get in my own head and I would be like, oh, what if there's nothing I can drink? What if everyone judges me? What if someone calls me out? Blah, blah, blah. What if it's not fun? And when I went to parties with this mindset, then anything anyone said to me felt like an attack. So imagine going to a party thinking like, oh man, what am I gonna drink? Everyone's gonna judge me. And then someone comes up to you and says, oh, here's a beer. And then I would take it and awkwardly like put it down or give it to someone. But that's just because I was so nervous about it already, and I was making it a big deal in my head. But then imagine going to that same party and just not caring, like knowing that people know you don't drink and it's really not a big deal. So I would just go, and if someone offered me a beer or just hands me a beer, I would say, no thanks, I'm okay. And it wasn't a big deal. It's literally only a big deal if you make it a big deal. Like when I was vegan, when I first started being vegan, if I was going to like a potluck or a dinner or something, I would get nervous beforehand, and I would be like, what if there's nothing I can eat? Or what if someone judges me? Or what if someone asks me why I'm not eating the meat or something like that? So then when I would go into these settings and someone would ask me anything about veganism, I would feel really nervous and almost felt like I had to defend veganism in a way. But that's just because I was making it such a big deal in my head. But then I realized over time, like, it's really not a big deal. People don't care that much. They're just curious about what you're doing because it's not like what everyone else is doing. So then it got to the point where people would ask me like, oh, why are you vegan? And I would just say like, oh, I just feel better eating this way. And then I would leave it at that, and it really wasn't a big deal. So you don't need to go into some long explanation if you don't want to. Just say your reason and leave it at that. And if they ask questions, then just know that they're coming from a place of curiosity. They're not trying to attack you for anything. This is the same for when you give up alcohol, and really for any decision you make. Just know that it's only a big deal if you make it a big deal. So overall, my year going without alcohol, I felt really amazing. I still had fun with my friends, and I saved some money, bonus. So I really think I accomplished my goals of gaining confidence and strengthening my willpower and proving to myself that I can do something consistently, which is huge for me because sometimes I struggle with consistency, but going a whole year without alcohol really proved to me that yes, I can do it. And if I can do that, what else can I do? I felt really good being able to stand my ground. And at the end of the year, I started feeling really proud telling people I wasn't drinking. So like I said, in the beginning of the year, I was pretty nervous. I was insecure about it. I didn't really want people to know I wasn't drinking. But then as the year went on, and especially towards the end of the year, I found myself really proud to tell people I wasn't drinking. And I actually found myself having really rich conversations with people about alcohol and socializing and life decisions and things like that. Towards the end, I was just really confident in my decision, and I owned my decision, which made everything just so much better. My physical health felt a lot better, obviously. I really felt like I cleansed my body. I felt like I did my body good by not drinking at all. So usually if I have a hangover, I'll feel really bad and I'll waste my entire weekend, like my whole Saturday or Sunday. I'll just lay in bed, not do anything. But last year I never had a hangover, so I was always like going out on weekends, going to the beach, having fun, being productive, and life just felt a lot more rich. The biggest benefit for me of going a year without drinking is that I was making a decision based on what I wanted, and I was no longer just making decisions based on what others wanted me to do or based on what I perceived I should be doing. And this has kind of had a domino effect on my life because now I find it a lot easier to just do something that I want to do without worrying so much what other people think, and that's so freeing. Like this year, a couple months ago, I did a 37-hour fast. I only drank water, and I did this for spiritual reasons, and I didn't find myself thinking, oh, what are people gonna think of me? Now I can also decide on a whim if I don't feel like drinking alcohol. I'll just give it up for a week and it won't feel like anything because I know I did it for a whole year, so I know a week won't feel like much. It's kind of like what I imagine marathon runners feel like after doing a marathon and then have the option to do a 5K. Like, it just feels so easy because you know what you're capable of. So my biggest message here is don't let anyone make your decisions for you. If there's something you want to do, just do it and don't worry what others think. But life's way too short to be living it according to other people's desires and not your own. So there you go, that's my experience going a year without drinking alcohol. I hope it was helpful for you in some way. And like I said, if there's something you want to do, just do it. Don't worry about what anyone thinks.